international players anthem. How was that like shooting that video with Outkast and UGK?
You really know everything about me. That is crazy. That was fun, man. Again, back to me being parts of classics, little bits and pieces of this hip hop gumbo that Alex Thomas said had something to do with. Man, that UGK, that players anthem was huge, man. I even forgot who called me that. I think Anissa Williams. Shout out to Anissa Williams, who happens to be one of the dopest casting directors in our culture. Black girl out of Long Beach. She's casted some of the greatest things that you probably never even knew she was behind it. I think she called me that day and wanted me to just do a cameo. And all she said was UGK and Outkast are shooting a video, and they got a little cameo for you in it. I pull up again, no clue that was going to be a hip hop national anthem. You know what I mean? And at that time, I'm an LA dude. I didn't realize the magnitude of Rest in Peace, Bun B and Pimp C, because I'm not a Texas dude. I didn't realize how huge they were. You know what I mean? But I found out that day, and we all became cool. And ever since that day, I was a Pimp C and UGK fan. I already was an Outkast fan from day one, and I was always cool with Andre 3000 and Big Boy. Shout out to them. They were always one of the coldest to ever do it. So, yeah, man. I've dipped and dabbled. Like I say, at one time I was a male video vixen. Shout out to all the dudes that came after me, Kevin Hart and Lil Duval and Shawty and all the dudes that were in videos. But I was kind of like that dude, kind of like before all them dudes. You know what I'm saying? I was in everything. So,
And you was in a Blame It video too, right? Jamie Foxx?
damn, I was in that Blame It video. I forgot all about Blame It on the alcohol. That was just fun. Like I said, Jamie is my brother. And anything he ever had anything to do, I was gonna pull up. You know what I mean? But to be honest with you, anybody that's ever partied with Jamie Foxx, that video was just an extension of how his parties were. When I tell you lit, off the chain, some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. Jamie Foxx parties, off the chain. That's all I got to say.
How was Eazy E? I know you was in some of his videos, right?
Eazy was a cool ass dude, man. I'll never forget my Eazy E story. Me and my dad were walking through the Del Amo Mall in 1988, and we were Christmas shopping for my brothers and my mom. And Eazy E, come on, that's NWA years. They bigger than life. My dad and Eazy E just walked me. What's up, Alex? What you doing in this motherfucker? My father was like, how the hell do you know Eazy E? Eazy was like, oh, he was just in my video a couple of weeks ago. And da-da-da. Eazy knew me as the dancer. I don't know if you remember, we want Eazy. We want Eazy. I was in that video. I was a flat top wearing dancer. He just knew me as the nigga from Soul Train. See, a lot of people don't realize in LA, let's just say 85 to 90, the real boys in the hood years, they didn't realize there was dudes like me. I had a crew of dudes that, yeah, when you saw NWA, you saw movies like, Menace to Society, you saw Boys in the Hood. If you didn't live in LA, you kind of thought it was just khakis, Chuck Taylors, white t-shirts, Jerry curls. That's what Crips and Bloods dressed like. If you didn't live here, you didn't know that. I was never that. I was always the dude, the hood was like, what is this on? But all my cousins were, the family were. Like I said, I have family members of Crips and Bloods. I loved them all. That just wasn't my style. I was a flat top. I had a flat top. I was wearing tapered khakis. And I was wearing button-ups. I was already on some international as a young black dude. You get what I'm saying? When dudes only were hanging in the hood, you gotta think about it. Go back to my history. I was the only black guy in an all-white private school. I was hanging out in Beverly Hills. I was hanging out in Westchester. I was hanging out in Santa Monica. I was hanging out in the Valley. I was messing with white girls, Hispanic girls, Latina. I always had a little mixture, but I went back to the hood also. I just had a plethora of kind of like my background and my crew. It wasn't just the hood. You know what I mean? I'm that dude, I'll pull up to your barbecue, but I might be hanging out with a white chick having some sushi in Santa Monica that night. You know what I mean? But at a young age, when in LA, it was either you a gangbanger or you're something else. I just was never into that life. I never had a 6'4". You know what I mean? I wasn't hitting switches. All my cousins were. Still went to my cousin's house, lived on Crenshaw. I was still in Long Beach, Compton, Torrance, Inglewood, everywhere else. That just wasn't my life. You get what I'm saying? So